Hi, I'm Stuart, Wright. Welcome to FrightFest TV, Simon
you.
Boswell.
Thank you very much.
You've just come out of your world premiere at FrightFest Halloween.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us an insight into what that experience was like?
Well, it's a lot more nerve-wracking than actually writing the music for a movie. Is watching a documentary about yourself, especially with my family involved. I mean, I felt a little bit like we're the Von Trapps meet the Addams family. It was Lola, who's directed the film, LG White, is also the singer in the band, and my son Jimmy is the guitarist. So yeah, we're sort of turning into a touring musical family.
It's an amazing documentary. I mean, I think it captures something that I wasn't expecting when I started to watch it. Is that you've made a lot of music for a lot of films.
Yeah.
That's without doubt. But
Yeah.
what's amazing after all that time, you have still got enthusiasm
Yeah.
as strong as ever
Yeah.
for the process of making music.
Yeah.
What is it about music that keeps you so?
I really don't know. They do say like, that, composers, especially, are amongst the most dysfunctional people in the world.
Okay.
Because you sort of, I mean, because you have to empathise with all of these different situations and emotional situations in films.
Yeah.
It's like you get it all out. You get it all out. It sort of turns you into quite normal after you've done it, but it's all bubbling away inside.
Well, at the start of the film, you say that it's the revenge of the composer.
Yeah.
Obviously, in reference to the fact that you're on screen as opposed to.
Well, what I was
Who's
sort
it
of
revenge on?
well, what I mean is, I'll tell you what it is that I spend my life as a film composer writing music which fits from here to here exactly,
Yeah.
in response to the actors and what's going on screen. My stage show, I re-edit the films to fit my music. So I'm probably going to get into a lot of trouble, but I'm sort of taking scenes that I remember from writing the music
Yeah.
for the film and re-editing them to be much more in time and in tune with my music, which I've also rearranged to be something slightly different from what it was in the first place. So that sounds a bit convoluted, but
No.
that's the revenge, is that it's now, it's making the music centerpiece of the
Yeah.
whole scenario.
And the film, the backdrop.
That's it.
No, exactly. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I said to Lola in the earlier interview, my only one disappointment is I didn't come to the show in December last year.
Yeah.
I really
Well,
wish.
well, we're going to do some more. But,
Excellent.
yeah.
I'll have to read this because I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a lovely quote from Jorowski, which is to say to you, "I only ask that you do it from your heart."
Yeah.
Now, that's a fairly vague brief. How terrifying or liberating is that?
Well, it was actually liberating. I mean, I was terrified because, as he says in the interview, he wrote the music, for most of his other films, and I don't think I was sort of foisted onto him. I think he was in a quite experimental frame of mind, and obviously people in Rome would be saying, "Oh, there's this English guy, doing all these different horror films." And I started with Argento, and then Michele Soavi and Lamberto Bava, and then it was Santa Sangre. So, he made me feel at ease, and I think what he was trying to say was that. He didn't want to be like this sort of director, which he's not, breathing down anyone's neck or going, "I want this, I want that."
Yeah.
It was almost like he was treating me like a jazz performer. That I'm going to let you go away and do that, and what you give back to me is a performance. That's it. You can't sort of redo your performance. So that's kind of how I felt about that. I felt he was setting me free,
Yeah.
and saying, but what he really only wanted was that it was genuine. I felt it. Felt the sadness of
Yeah.
this kid,
And the other chapter that I really liked was the insight into Dust Devil, which is a film I love.
Yeah.
And until you said it, I'd never thought about it being a spaghetti western and the
Yeah.
idea of the score being that.
Yeah.
And I felt a bit stupid when you played it. Like, my God, it's so obvious.
Well, it was obvious to me just because I was first seeing, the stuff they were sending back from Namibia. And yet again, like hardware, sand everywhere.
Yeah.
But I thought, don't go down that Paris, Texas route, which I explained. I went with hardware, the sort of Raikou to slide guitar thing. In Dust Devil, I thought, well, the character is dressed like, the man with no name, isn't he?
When you decide on, like, say, I'm going to do my spaghetti western, I'm going to look to Ennio Morricone, how do you still make the music yours?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to put Tubular Bell in it. It's just a dong, because there's that tolling spell in Once Upon a Time in the West, you know.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I just decided humming, you know, the beauty and the genius of Morricone. And he was so far ahead of his time. He's like a sort of the way that people write music now, like a DJ sampling different things from all different genres. So he's got a twangy guitar, and he's got a voice, and he's got a choir, and he's got a soprano, and an orchestra. And I just thought, well, I'll do humming. I'll just hum, and I'll multi-track myself humming. And I decided to write something that's a little bit like an English folk song. If you break it down, the actual tune, it's sort of slightly romantically tragic. And it's interesting because it gives the main character, who's a serial killer when it comes down to it, a sort of romantic vibe, you know. So that's really what I did, and I'm pleased that I did, because I think it gives films depth when you don't get the obvious thing from a soundtrack. You know, I always keep saying this. Does a car chase have to have car chasing music on it? Please no. Please tell me not.
Well, look, Tripping the Dark Fantastic is a brilliant documentary. Thank you very much for joining us on FrightFest TV.
Thank you a lot.
Bye then.